Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Mr. Nipples over here at the Daycare podcast. We're kicking off episode 9. We got Nick as usual, and today we have GI Low on the podcast. How's everyone doing?
Hey, it's good to be back to Daycare.
Always fun to be in the Daycare. So,
Hey,
GI Low, why don't you tell us a little bit about your page and your comic and everything,
Well, I suppose I
and your
should clarify.
background?
I'm not GI Low. I'm the creator of
he's the
GI Low.
creator of GLO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Common misconception. Yeah, people are like you don't look like your character. It's like, what's not my? It's a character I created. It's not me. People have been like, well, is GI Low you? And it's like, well, no more than like Charlie Brown is Charles Schultz. Like my life influences the comic, but it's not me. I am the creator and illustrator of GI Low. I started the comic back in 2010 when I was in basic training. I had a notebook. It was like, all right, instead of writing letters like, "Dear Mom and Dad, I'm having fun at summer camp," I was like, I don't know, maybe just make little comic strips because basic training is funny. And ever since then, I just adapted. So like, it was like, all right, no one's gonna see them if they're just my notebook. So I put them online. It was like, maybe people on Facebook will find it funny, and it's kind of snowballed ever since.
Wait, you went through basic in 2010?
Yeah.
God, I feel old.
I went
out
through
of
in
the
2015.
service. Holy crap!
But yeah, I realized I'm at the 10-year reunion of when I enlisted. I started basic in 2010, but enlisted in 2009. So it just flies by.
Good grief.
Speaking of Charlie Brown.
So, you've done your fair of stuff in your life. You've been here, you've been there. You've obviously had a couple different duty stations. You had the chance to wear the brown round now that, the same thing that started the whole creation.
Oh yeah.
How was it for you?
Well, I describe it as I make fun of teenagers for 14 hours a day. So it's the ultimate adult dream job,
That sounds perfect.
It is exhausting. It's so the comic, if you've been following it for years, and obviously everyone has. So originally, Sergeant Lowe was not a drill sergeant. He was just sort of this stereotypically bad NCO who's just overwhelmed and underqualified. And so then I was like, all right, just the comic itself was kind of gag-a-day jokes, where sort of something funny happened at work. I was like, oh, that'd be a good comic. And then I got orders for drill sergeant school. And I'm not saying I went through with all of this, for the sake of my comic, but it definitely didn't hurt. I was like, oh God, all right. So of all my characters, Sergeant Lowe is the worst NCO in the comic. He's got to be the one who goes to drill sergeant school. And I remember thinking to myself, there's a really high attrition rate at the drill sergeant academy, and it's like there's a very good chance that either I get recycled and then kicked out, or they just take one look at me and say, yeah, no, you're lame, go away. And the thing is, I assured myself, it's like, all right, even if you don't graduate, this is still going to be funny. It'll be traumatic as it's happening, but it'll be funny in hindsight, and so therefore it fits the style of the comic.
You always gotta get that experience for content. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it was
Now, no offense, but to the listeners, just to give you an idea, I've seen his picture. He looks like he weighs like a $1.5 wet. So he's
well. All right, I lost about 30 pounds before I went to the academy, and then I lost about an additional 15 pounds kind of the exact opposite of Sergeant Lowe in the comics.
Do you just filter feed air?
Well, it's notable. I remember it was towards the end. My drill sergeant leader told me to get seconds. I was like, I didn't know drill sergeants could tell you to get seconds. I remember, before you graduate, you have to get the ASU inspection and all that. I lost a lot of weight. So it was like the drill sergeant leaders were like, you need to get that taken in. And I was like, yeah, but the thing is, I'm like a drill sergeant academy weight. Like I'm going to go back and, bounce back to normal, and then I have to buy a new uniform. Like, I don't care. Do it. So.
oof.
Big oof.
I was gonna say, thankfully, drill sergeants never eat. It's a little like having a small child, where every time you go to take a bite, it's like, yeah, I need something. Thankfully, the uniform still fits, but it just every 2 seconds. Drill sergeant, drop out the battle buddy. Requesting permission to speak to a drill sergeant. I'm locked in my room again.
See, that has changed since I went through. I tell you what.
I know.
I had a drill sergeant Kearns back in 01, right? This mofo, okay, you know how special forces guys have to like take that break and they have to like do something that's not that high octane, high stress once in a while? Well, they decided his rotation would be drill sergeant. Back
Or they let him take
then
out
they
his
actually
anger on
enforced
teenagers?
Yes. Well, we were only required to have the opportunity to sleep 4 hours a night at that point. 4 hours a day. Yes.
We have to give them 7 now.
We had to have the opportunity. Opportunity keyword, okay?
Yeah.
To sleep 4 hours a day within a 24-hour period. We would be on a ruck march, and he would just randomly walk into a room at 0 to 100 and go, grab your shit. We're going for a ruck. And
I think
we go for a ruck, right? Well, we'd stop on the side of the road, have some water. That 5 minutes counts towards your sleep time.
Hell yeah.
Man.
Those 5-minute power naps are what gets you through the day.
Well, I constantly tell my soldiers, like, you have no idea how easy you have it. And they would complain about a free trip to Disneyland. To Disney World. Because it's just like, drill sergeant, pulling the CQ is annoying. It's like, guess what? In the real army, it's going to be 12 or 24 hours. Yeah, but then you get to recover. Yeah. And the big difference for me that I've noticed, there's 1,000. They're all going to be in the comic. Is they talk to us. Like I didn't have drill sergeants when I was in AIT. We had platoon sergeants, and they talked to you. I mean, it was if you talked to your platoon sergeants, it's because you got in trouble, and that was it. There was never like a, sergeant. What's the status on my leave? It was never that. It was never where are my orders. It was the platoon sergeant says, I will tell you when your orders are here. Now they never stopped talking to us. I was like, you are the biggest loser. It's the weekend. Go weekend. Why are you hanging out with the company? So.
We had drill sergeants that like to fuck with us. I'm telling you, we'd buff the floor, glorious. And he'd come in with a like a broom handle and a paint scraper at the end of it, and walk right down the middle of the floor with a zigzag all the way down the floor.
They made us buff the floors with belts. They literally took the trimmings of our belts and we buffed the floor with that. That shit was insane.
To buff the floors with Brillo pads in basic, and I got in trouble because I cleaned my portion of the floor too well that everyone else's didn't. Yeah, it was like, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just trying to do my best. Like, do worse. Now we all have to make our portion of the floor look as clean as yours.
One of my favorite parts of basic was when we had a drill sergeant walk. Well, they're not drill sergeants in the Navy, but I'll just use that term just to keep it.
They're instructors, right?
Yeah, we have like instructors. So one of our people walked in and screamed. It was like as soon as we woke up that we had a rack inspection and everyone had to strip their racks. Everyone rips their covers off and then he starts laughing. He's like, "Nah, I'm just fucking with you," and just leaves.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was fantastic. I laughed so hard. Do it, dude. Just do it and walk out. Your recruits are gonna hate me, but it is honestly so funny.
Oh, we don't call them recruits or trainees. They're soldiers. They've graduated basic, so they've earned the right to be called.
Oh, they're at AIT now. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I got not necessarily trouble, but I got a talking to about calling them trainees. It's like no, they're soldiers now. It's like can I call them soldiers in training? Can I some other derogatory? Just like ugh.
Hey nerds.
So you're not in an OC. You're not an OSET unit then. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Formal AIT.
All right. Well, let your troops, whatever the hell they're supposed to be called. I got a story for you, right? So I'm sitting up in the barracks, fresh in Germany, and I'm watching this movie, and my friend Stein, I'll fill you in a little later after the show, but comes running in the show, and he's like, "Hey man, hey Faku," because I'm Nick Faku, and he comes running in, and he's like, "Hey, you got to see this." He turns on this movie AFN, and we watched this plane fly into this building. Like, wow, this is the best graphics ever.
Oh shit! I know where you're going with this.
And about 20 minutes later, this guy's running down the hall, beating on the doors, yelling formation. I pulled 72 hours straight on gate guard.
Well, I remember. So I was in high school back in 9/11, just to make you feel older.
Oh, shit.
But I've got a friend who was in basic training during 9/11, and they didn't know until graduation day. I mean, this was weeks of not knowing. They just the first sergeant comes down and says, "Is anyone here from New York or Washington?" And like, they were let in because their family might be affected, but everyone else, it was just like, "Okay, you've graduated. Guess what? We're at war."
Yeah.
Cool. And just I just can't imagine what that shock would have been like.
That must have been insane.
I
Nick,
pulled 72 hours.
If you want to feel older, I was in like kindergarten when that happened.
Well,
I've got soldiers, at least 2 soldiers now who were born after 9/11.
Good God.
It's just like, so I occasionally I'll ask them questions about the war in Afghanistan, and it's like, do you know why we're there? No. Do you know what started this? No. It's like, oh, and you're going to deploy to Afghanistan. This is going to be fun. Just pull up a Wikipedia page on it or something. Just fill yourself in.
So, 2-3 FA is the artillery unit I was with. Right? We rolled in just not long after shock and awe. And we took over the Fedidine National Headquarters. And then we rolled in and took in, we were there for about, I think, like 5 days. And we rolled in and took over the Police National Headquarters, where we lived for like 4 months. Well, to give you a clue, there was still fresh blood on the Kevlars when we took over the Fedidine National Headquarters.
Oh, jeez.
So if that tells you how early in the war we got there.
Yeah, just to I guess tie it into my comic. There's like I never intend the comic to go into like darker territories.
Yeah.
Like there's only like maybe 8 comics I've ever done about deployment, and it's always just sort of the office business. My deployment was fine. I just want to clarify that. I had like the easiest 13 months in Kandahar that anyone could possibly hope for.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. But like, I never intend for like a very serious GI Low. I did one for Memorial Day last year. I lied. Where it was talking about dignified transfers, which there's no way to make that funny. But again, it's Memorial Day, so I'll take that occasion to sort of like, all right, let me get a little bit solemn for one comic and then go back to the goofy.
Well, it's a good cause though. It really is.
Well, it's a big part of deployment. It's like it's that moment you're just like, I went to my first dignified transfer pretty early on, so it was just sort of, oh, okay. And my sergeant major was big on, all right, we want you guys to attend. We're not going to force you, but we want you to attend just to realize the gravity of what you're doing right now, and the gravity of where you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the one time I've ever like, all right, let me get serious. But like, so Mark Baker, who does Private Murphy, he's got a side comic right now, Charlie Mike Comics, and he's going into the serious side of war. So, but I don't have the intellect or the patience or anything like that to do that.
That's all right. I appreciate what you're doing because it's relatable and it gives me something to relax and read and enjoy life.
Good.
So,
yeah.
As Nipples knows, go ahead.
I say a big point that comes across in the Warfighters Coalition is just a group of other like content creators online, of which Nick is a part of. Is just since there are a lot of veterans who need some stabilization. I mean, a big part of this is just to say, like, sort of, here's a little bit of comic relief, or here's just a little bit of, sit down and talk about something untraumatic.
Yeah, that's what we, I do a lot of, I'm sure you've seen some of my memes, and I do a lot of the pendas and a lot of the military stuff, but every once in a while, I have to go totally off cue and just do something like, you know, Groot with titties because I have to I have to get out of my own head.
That meme made me want to dunk my head in bleach. By the way, thank you for that. That was something I saw that when I woke up this morning too. I didn't see it last night. So the first thing I see when I open up Facebook was that. It was a great way to wake up. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just getting off of being night drill, so I'm my brain
Absolutely
is in
killed my
shuffle
morning
mode.
wood.
Did you see
God, that just thanks for that mental image too.
Did either one of you see my Paul Walker ghost meme this morning?
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't
that's-
seen that one yet.
I saw it.
I'm gonna go look at it right now.
Oh, that was good. That was the best
Oh.
editing job I've ever done in my life.
Oh, yeah.
My wife's like, "That's not funny. You shouldn't do that. He was a good person." And I'm like, "It's been how many years? Come on, it's okay. It's."
Well, all right. One of those topics of discussion that you have with your friends when you're just
Yes.
bored is how do you want to die? And I always have the same answer of how I want to die is I want to get eaten by a great white shark. And not necessarily because I want that, because in the moment that'd probably suck a lot, terrible way to die. But I want to get to heaven. It's like, well, how did you die? Oh, I had cancer. How did you die? I had a heart attack. How did you die? I got eaten by a shark, bitches.
Okay, now it depends on how the great white eats you, right? There's two different ways to get eaten by a great white shark. One, they take off a limb and then come back for more.
Oh no, I want to get entirely eaten.
They can't do that.
Oh.
The other one is when they come up from underneath you and they get the lower half of your body in you. They crunch down and they thrash you. You are dead by the third thrash.
I guess the point I'd like to make is if I ever become famous through this comic, and I do in fact get eaten by a great white shark, and people want to make memes about me getting eaten by a great white shark,
it'll
go ahead. Oh, absolutely. Much tastier than an MRE or something tasteless like that. But you know what? Just on the record, I'm cool if people want to make memes about me getting eaten by a great white shark someday.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'll take that picture that you shared, with you next to that private, and I will I'll put G.I. Lowe's face on there, and I'll have the body sticking out of a great white, and there'll just be blood everywhere. I will make a deal out of it. I think
if I want to get eaten by a great white, I think I want to get eaten ass first. So, so the great white would have to eat my ass, and that would be the best way to die of all time. The biggest meme.
Right before you die, you get arrested for I eat ass. Actually, the shark would get arrested
for eating ass in public.
That's not going to hold up.
Yeah.
That is not going to hold up. That is a violation of the First Amendment. It is not going to hold up. But
sometimes you got to get arrested for what you believe in.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the superposing G.I. Lowe's head on my a picture is a friend of mine who also is. There's a lot of drill sergeant cartoonists out there. It's big demographic, but he photoshopped G.I. Lowe's head on my body and then I was like, LOL, this is funny, and I shared it to the G.I. Lowe page, and it got like 7 times the likes that most of my comics get. And I was like, is it that easy? I have no idea what they want.
The most shares and the most likes we've ever got, right, is I made this little thing. It had Deadpool in front of that Simpsons screen. I'm sure you've seen it going around.
Oh, yeah.
And it said, if you are the fucktard that brings your little fuck trophy to Endgame, I can't remember the exact word. I'd have to look it up. But basically, it went on like that. Something exactly that Deadpool would say to some dumbass. And it got 250,000 views and close to 10,000.
Well, yeah, there's no guessing what the readers want, because like the most liked comic I've ever done doesn't even feature Sergeant Lowe in it. And so I was like, oh, should maybe just get rid of him and make him a side character?
Yeah, I run a page called Patriot Wave where I make like War Wave style art, and my most shared and liked thing was just some random art, because it's usually like pretty serious stuff, but it was a funny one that I made where it was a military contractor in Iraq, and it said "In cash we trust," and that one got shared more than anything else. It was wild.
Well, so you probably heard drill sergeants don't have a ton of free time, and it takes a lot of time to make comics. I'm not like a trained artist. So there was one. It was like a few months ago, I was just like, all right, I just need to fill space because otherwise people are going to start jumping ship, and all the momentum I've gained as a cartoonist is going to be gone. And so I just found one that I did for the basic training series. When Sergeant Lowe was in basic training, it was about cough drops, and I shared that, and of course it got hundreds of shares. And I was like, oh, cool, I got to do like reruns more often. Damn.
Yeah, but you have how many followers on your page?
I hit 20,000 about a month ago.
Woo.
We have 165.
All right.
We have
For now.
100.
Well,
we have
you guys
150 likes. That's it.
Well, you guys are fairly new, right?
Yeah, we've been around since December, but we had to take 2 months off because I had jaw surgery.
Yeah, this is our 9th
I couldn't
episode.
do nothing.
Yeah. I say be patient because 20,000 was not overnight.
I
so
get it.
The origin of the Facebook page, I kind of touched about it in that initial ramble, is I was sharing these comics on my own personal Facebook page, and people were like, these are really good. And my sister was like, if you want these seen, if you want anything to happen with this, you have to create some sort of social media platform for the comic by itself. And I was just bored on a Friday once, and I was like, okay, guess what? GLO's live. And I was realistic about it to a point, but there was that voice in the back of my head. It was like, this could be big. And then, of course, I got discouraged because for about a month, I was sitting at 91 likes. And I was like, I've got more than 91 Facebook friends. And I was just like, oh, this was a stupid idea. Obviously, there's a happier, conclusion a few years later, but this is back in 2015. And then eventually, what was funny, I was so happy about getting 100 likes when I finally hit 100 that I made a comic about, oh, joy, 100 likes. And then it was a few months later, largely because we talked about like the Warfighters Coalition, but another group that I belong to is Miltoons, and it's a bunch of us military cartoonists. We all just kind of pulled together and said, well, what if we, kind of join forces and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I doubled my followers once, Miltoons got established.
Wow.
So I went from like 1,000 to 2,000 in like a week. So, strength in numbers, I guess that's kind of enforced in the military.
Yeah. All right. So one more question about GLO, and then we're going to get into, a couple other topics.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
Like, what was your favorite the favorite one that you've made so far?
My favorite one I've done so far is one I talked about in the pre-interview, and it's one I did back in 2015, so I peaked early. And it was kind of the moment that GLO was born, because for a while it was just sort of like, what's the deal with UAs? What's the deal? Blah, 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 blah. Not necessarily funny, but just more like a print screen of something that happened. So I was doing this sort of riff on G.I. Joe and, the more you know ads. And I'd already done one where it was two kids are like, hey, let's go play with matches. Yay! And then a much more G.I. Joe version of GLO shows up. Like, I'm not sure that's a good idea. You're not wearing reflective belts. LOL. And so I thought that would just become like a reoccurring thing where like kids are like in dangerous situations, and the only problem that GLO has with it is they're not wearing reflective belts. And then so I came up with one where it was like, what if Cobra Commander drops an atomic bomb, and it's like, quick, the children, put on your reflective belts, and of course saves their lives. But then I was like, wait a minute, let me do something slightly different just because I know the Army pretty well. And it was, what if one of the kids doesn't have on the unit's color, and so he gets incinerated? And the thing is, it's not necessarily tragic in the comic. It's just sort of like, yeah, that makes sense. You brought it up.
Wait, there's different color reflective belts now?
There's all sorts of colors that annotate different units and whatnot.
Okay, when I was in, there was two. There was the stretchy neoprene yellow with the white stripe, and the really hard plastic pixelated belt.
Yeah,
that you hit somebody with and it left like a whip mark on you.
Never done that before, and I'm pretty sure it's illegal for me to do that to my soldiers.
You got to do it to your friends. I'm telling you.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah.
Motor pool.
They're less likely to press charges.
You sneak up on them with motor pool, like when you're doing like railheading and stuff, and you just take it off and you smack them across the back with it. Oh, yeah.
though. That's my favorite comic I've ever done. So I peeked there. Everything else has just been crap.
All right. So we brought this subject up with the Navy spouse guy, and we're gonna be bringing it up with anybody that that's either active duty or gonna be returning to active duty. What do you think is going right with leadership right now, as far as the Army or the military goes?
Well, it's going right with leadership. I'm an NCO. Hopefully, I've got a good answer on the ready. Is I would say just constantly evolving to the military. I mean, the old cliche is the only constant in the Army is change. So it just being able to adapt to whatever changes are being thrown our way. Like for example, AIT drill sergeants. Not a thing until last summer. So what I've seen is just like my leadership personally is just like, all right, we understand that this is new. Well, it used to be old, but it's new. So it's just sort of like, all right, let's figure out the left and right limits together. We got 350-6 as an aid. But yeah, I would say what's going right is that adaptability.
Okay. As far as what do you think, could be done better as far as the senior leadership? I know, at NCO level, the E5s and E6 is, I've seen two ways that it's going. One is the solid core where, they're taking responsibility. They're the ones that are, actually training the new leaders to come up, and then there's the ones that are like, fuck it. And they've always been around, but I mean,
I'm hesitant to answer that just because like I don't want it to seem like I'm ragging on any of my leadership. That would definitely get me in trouble. I would say
is there something that you think that the leadership, anything at all, anywhere in the leadership chain of command that you think could be improved? Like,
well, one of the few things I guess I would say just less of a this is a weakness and more just sort of recommendation. And I've had units where they absolutely do this, which is make sure that the training doesn't become redundant. Because at that point, people start to tune it out. And to go with the obvious example, an easy example would be sharp training, which I was at a unit. This is like 3 units duty stations ago, where we did it every month, and it was the identical training. And everyone was just the attitude was very much, we don't want to do this, but we have to. So shut up and listen. And thankfully, I think the SHARP program has been around long enough that we've learned. Okay, we need to change this up. We need to this was a couple duty stations ago too, but we had someone from CID come in and talk about his experience with SHARP reports. And I was like, okay, this is good. This puts a human face on it. It's not just death by PowerPoint.
That's the stuff I'm talking about. The small things like that make a huge impact. One of the things that I think that I've been out for quite a while, but everybody I've talked to that's still in agrees with me in a way. They need to get rid of some of the outdated or overly complicated, unnecessary regulations.
I would say an audit would probably only help. Just see what we're doing. But that's I think it's pretty much my answer.
Okay. Yeah, an audit wouldn't hurt. I mean, the Air Force is doing it right now, and they've already cut, I think, like 50 regs, and they have 1,000 more to go through. So that's not bad. I mean, it's something. So, but there's got to be a new way to do those damn PMCS reports.
Oh, yeah. I was a motor stables NCOIC at a unit, and it was just pulling teeth.
Go paperless. Like, there's got to be a better way to do it.
Well, I remember
something better to do.
As I was NCOIC of the motor stables, I had to collect all of the I've even forgotten the form, but whatever DA form it is.
Yeah.
And if it rained, I mean, I'm just carrying around like a soaking stack of papers, and
but those otter boxes are like waterproof.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a better way to do this crap. But okay, have you heard the story that I told a couple shows back about the anchor?
I have not. I'm sorry, I'm a bad listener.
It's all right. A guy in let's say it was not Heidelberg. It won the post in Germany, right? And he put one wrong digit in the wrong spot on his damn form when he was ordering the part. And the guy up top, when he was entering it into the computer, didn't double check the numbers. And a few weeks later, here comes the semi. And it's an anchor for an aircraft carrier.
Well, hopefully they kept the receipt.
They needed
Well, they kept it. It was placed by the front gate.
That's maybe they could have just like turned it into like a mascot or something like that, or like for unit morale, they got like one company got that painted every month.
Well, when they closed down the post, they left the anchor.
Well, who the hell's gonna move that? I was gonna say we need 10 privates to move an aircraft carrier anchor.
10 privates, you'd have to get like half the post.
I would, from my experience, they would probably undersell that and be like, "Yeah, we need like 10. Just get
yeah,
$1.
there you go.
They'll be good." And then just like there's like just one, buck sergeant like, "All right, lift with your legs. You're lifting with your back. Come on."
Oh, my sergeants, I'm telling you, they would have been out there, trying to lift with us. They would have been, then we'd be doing it wrong and they'd fucking hit us. And
that's what a good sergeant, well, I mean, not the hitting thing, but a good sergeant would be out there helping,
They would have hit us like in a bad way. It'd be like, come on, you dumbass, But, it's...
a nice tap on the head with the PC.
Exactly.
I would do that with my my brown round, but it would probably leave a dent. That thing is heavy as hell.
It is. I wasn't dumb enough to steal drills, but drill crew is across the room a few times. It was, I'm telling you.
All right. So we have lots of appointments, and we've got the duty van. We're driving soldiers around to appointments, I don't know, posts and whatnot.
What?
And so, yeah, it's a crazy time. But I always put my campaign hat on the passenger seat, and they always have to sit in the back. And almost every time, soldiers like, Joe Sergeant, can I sit up front? Oh, yeah, move my campaign hat. And someone almost did. I lost my shit. I was like, I was kidding. It was like, that was an order from drill sergeant. Like, no, I'm sarcastic. You never touch that. Your hands will burn off or something.
Shit. Do they still have No Man's Land? Please tell me they still got No Man's Land.
Oh, what is No Man's Land? I don't know. That might be before my time.
Okay. Drill sergeant's office, it's in front, the barracks. And there's like a taped off area permanently glassed into the floor. You do not cross that.
I call it the box of doom.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's funny. You can always tell the new soldiers because they don't know what it is. So they won't necessarily get into the box of doom, but they'll have their the front of their shoe or their boots into it. I'm like, get the hell out of my box of doom! Oh my god!
So your privates are going to hit me.
What was that?
Your privates are going to hit me for saying this, but
who cares?
I did I did OSET in Fort Sill, and we had cannons everywhere, brass cannons. And Joe one day, middle of the rain, is like, go out there and polish the fucking cannons. It's pissing rain in Oklahoma, which it doesn't do often. So the dust is flying up in the mud, splattering the cannons, and you're out there trying to polish cannons. Well, he didn't give a shit. They built good character. So next time it rains, wherever the hell you are, have your privates go out there and clean some fucking stupid piece of.
I would say you can mop the sidewalk when it's raining. That works.
I remember in A school we were marching down. We were marching down to the damn compound to go to work, and we were marching past compound 1, and we were in compound 3. So we were walking past the first one. It was like hurricane-ass rains because there was a tropical storm moving in.
Yeah.
And there was a chief standing underneath the cover with his arms crossed, and there was a sailor just standing out there sweeping rocks and this absolute downpour. And I was like, oh, that poor boy pissed off a chief. And our whole formation just was dying laughing.
So my favorite picture of the entire war in Iraq, right, is one of the few times it's raining, and some guy is out there mopping the fucking mud motor pool because he did something stupid. And I'm like, that's Iraq. That's it right there. Oh, shit. Yeah. All right, so we covered leadership. Is there anything morale-wise you think they can do to it? I've heard that the suicide rate within troops is going back up currently.
Yeah, I've seen that statistic too. So thankfully we're on guard. Because AIT is an interesting time. It's still the IT environment. You still have drill sergeants, however, you've got a longer leash, and so therefore, and it's also much longer than basic training. So there is time to kind of think about things, and so we've got soldiers who've got behavioral health problems, and thankfully we have it set up so that there are resources available to them. Um, and we try to like impart like, all right, when you get into the real army, guess what? There's going to be a chaplain there. There's going to be an MFLAC at every unit. You've got behavioral health. So just sort of like impart like, I know this is tough right now. It's very insular. You think that your life is AIT, but there is an army out there, and there is help that is readily available. And the chaplain's always got a 24-hour number.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some better transition training from deployments to the rear instead of, oh, you're here, oh, you're there. They need to figure out a way to.
Like I lucked out again because my deployment was fine, but I mean first year back is tough. For me, mostly just it was dealing with that crushing boredom, because when you're deployed, you're busy every day, for 12 hours a day at least. And then you come back and it's like, oh, well, it's Saturday. What am I going to do today?
Yeah,
I guess I'll...
Water!
That as well. I actually did a shit ton of woodworking when I got back. Like, literally just woke up in the morning and I was like, well, time to make a shoe rack. Made a shoe rack. Woke up the next day, I was like, damn, I should build another shoe rack.
Well, for me, what kind of got me out of the
Legit
doldrums...
did that for like 2 months. So much just random shit being built.
He's got 30 shoe racks sitting around.
Well, I'll say this. So there was a huge gap of GI Low. So I started it back in 2010, and then got discouraged and self-doubt and all that fun stuff. Plus, it was just adapting to the Army and all that. So at the back of my mind, I was always like, maybe bring back GI Low. And so when I was deployed, I had a notebook, and I was like, I should do GI Low comics. All of them sucked, and it was just like, okay, I'm completely discouraged. I'm not doing this ever again. But when I got back from Afghanistan, it was so bored all the time. It was like I just doodled all the time, and I didn't even GI Low doodle. It was just sort of like I would find Army Times and like draw someone who was in the Army Times. It wasn't until I PCS'd from that unit I deployed with that GI Low came about. So I was stationed in Germany, and I was because the end of my time at my first duty station, I was just really bored, discouraged. Most of my friends who I deployed with PCS'd, so again, that does not help with the boredom part. So I was like, all right, I'm going to re-enlist for Germany. That's what I've always wanted from the Army. I've always wanted to live in Germany. That'll solve all of my problems. And then I got to Germany, and my problems were still there, and then there were new problems. So that's kind of what GI Low really got resurrected. Is I was just like,
real quick, Are you married?
I'm not married, no kids.
No kids. So then how in the hell were you bored in Germany?
All right, I had a girlfriend when I was in Germany, and she was local.
Why would you have a girlfriend in Germany?
Because I don't know, I fell in love.
What? There's literally, okay, you know that there's like a smorgasbord. You can walk into like 50 different cities, and for like 30 euros, you can have your way for like an hour and a half, no questions asked.
Actually, it's funny. So said now ex-girlfriend. We went on a trip to Hamburg, and she made me go through the red light district. Not to make any purchases, but it was just sort of like, she's like, yeah, it's part of the German experience. You must go through red light district. And what I noted was, I've never seen people look so bored in their life. These women are sitting in the windows on their cell phones, and just kind of look up and be like, hi. I was like, oh, all right. At least you're being honest.
You should have gone to Frankfurt. I'm telling you, that was Frankfurt's a whole.
Frankfurt was good to you. I got you.
Yeah, I'll tell you that story some other time.
All right. But yeah, so G.I. Lowe was definitely born out of that, like trying to articulate why I hated life in Germany to my American friends, the only way I knew how, which is comic strip.
Yeah. See, it was so crazy in my unit that they literally had to add this to the safety briefing on the weekend at one point. It is not okay to have a woman at the poof house crap on your chest.
I think I missed that safety brief. Well, all right, I'll tell you one thing.
It's not a
All
free
right,
country, damn it.
I was TDY in Grafenbeer, and so myself and a friend of mine were doing laundry, and one of the soldiers, actually from Fort Stewart where I'd been, came up to us and was like, "Hey, do you guys know where I could find a hooker around here?" And I was like, "Did you seriously just ask two non-commissioned officers where to find a hooker?" And then my buddy said, "Maybe Nuremberg." It's like, "Are you, dude? Come on."
It's legal there, though.
I don't think it wasn't legal for Americans to do it when I was there. But it might be legal in Germany, like for the Germans.
When I was there, our NCOs encouraged that because 1, you were not going to get a local chick pregnant. 2, you were not going to end up in the blotter. And 3, they knew damn well you were wearing a raincoat.
Well, it's one way to kind of sow the wild oats for the youngins.
Yeah.
Get that out of their system.
Oh, the youngins? Okay, I won't mention. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Boost morale.
Yeah, that's one thing. Also keeps them from falling in love with locals. So
yeah, it keeps you from a lot of stupid things. And I still ended up marrying a local, just so you know. So that was wife number 2. Yeah. I told you about wife number 1.
Yeah, I heard about wife number 1. Sorry to hear about that.
He has a whole smorgasbord.
I'm on wife number 3 now, and wife number 3 has been nothing but good to me for 7.5 years.
All right, happy to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, but okay.
About to have my first and only
wife.
Yeah.
No? You're not in the army, so that's very likely. You're not in the army, so it's very likely it will be your first and only. There's 3 things that come with career in the army, whether it's 3 years or 30, right?
Divorce, alcoholism, and depression?
Well, those are 3 of the 4 things you can have. The 4th is bad credit.
True. Oh my god! All right, quick side note, because I love complaining about my shoulders. It's therapy for me. It's such an interesting experiment just to watch these soldiers, because this is the first time most of them have had a job, and most of them are right out of high school. So we do mail pickup. We see the dumbest shit that they order. And it's like, this is what happens when you give teenagers, hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, that was
we had a soldier order a marble table.
Why?
And it was like, you live in the barracks. Also, you're getting chaptered out of the army. Is this your carry-on? You do know you're flying home, right? It's like, I just wanted a marble table. I was like, oh my god. We had a soldier order a Jeep tire.
Being chaptered out, and you ordered a marble table. What the flying? Oh, God.
My thought was, it's like, well, you think, it's like, you don't know what the next job is, so it might not pay as well. And we had a soldier order a Jeep tire. Now, his Jeep was not in the state. He just ordered a tire. And I was like, do you plan to roll that back to your home state? And I was like, well, I needed a tire for my Jeep back home. I was like, oh, you're not thinking.
Have it delivered to your house then.
I never ordered anything that stupid.
I was like, when I was in AIT, I ordered books, because the bookstore in town sucked. These soldiers, the crazy stuff we get now is usually like, we have soldiers order things at Walmart.com. I was like, there's nothing in this town except for a Walmart. I was like, yeah, but this one gets delivered to me, drill sergeant. And it's like, yeah, I delivered it to you, jackass. We've had soldiers like order pillows, not even like good pillows, just pillows. And I was like, there's a thing called a PX, right? And they have pillows. Yeah, but this one's delivered to me.
We got to go to the shop-ette when I was in AIT. The shop-ette. That was it. That was as far as we got to go.
That's what they should get. You know what? There's pillows at the shop-ette.
You know what, though? We didn't have to buy pillows. You know why? Uncle Sam provided me with a pillow.
Oh
I
no,
went.
we provide them with linens. However, so again, these soldiers are very young. This is the first time they're doing laundry because the parents did it for them. So their strategy for washing the pillows is not to wash the pillowcase. It was to throw the pillow itself in the washing machine. So therefore, it's just this like gnarled, just mess of cotton balls that is
Beautiful.
impossible to sleep on. And they're already given the Brillo pad blankets, and it's just like, so I get why they'd want to buy linens because at some point they phase up and they can buy their own linens. But walk your happy ass to the PX and get a pillow.
As soon as I phased up in A school and was able to buy my own linens, I went and bought a Jurassic Park set
Oh,
of
that's
linens.
awesome.
Yeah, it was
I
great.
highly approve.
And my first inspection, they pulled it down and they were like, "Nice." I was like,
Hydros
"I
Island
know,
did that.
right?"
Um, my last unit, before I was a drill sergeant, I had a soldier who had a Beverly Hills 90210 blanket. I was like, oh,
Shit.
I was never a fan, but I approve of how stupid that. Apparently, 90210 warranted blankets. Cool. I like that exists.
Okay, I gotta ask: are your troops in like the long billet hall, or do they have rooms?
They have they've got like suites, so like they have a roommate, and they share a
What
bathroom.
in the
But
flying?
I know, I was gonna say like it makes it easy. I know things have changed.
Oh, dude, in my A school
Um,
we had a quad, so there was like two rooms attached to this like little living area where we had our bathroom and we had like a full kitchen. But
what?
before I got there, they turned off everything in the kitchen, like disconnected the stoves and everything because they caught people cooking meth in one of the barracks. So they just turned off everyone's
Oh,
stove. So I couldn't have any. There was no way to cook food after that. So I
That is
had a
insane.
microwave, and then I was like, "Can I get like a hot plate or a toaster or something?" And they were like, "No." And I was like,
Here's
I'm not gonna cook meth in it. I just want toast.
here's the
I just want
horrible thing.
food."
Now that you have put that evil on me, my soldiers are gonna start cooking meth. I'm sure of it.
You got the juju
They'd be
now.
like, I saw an
Don't let
episode
them
of
have
Breaking
hot
Bad. It looks
plates.
pretty easy.
Don't let them have hot plates.
I was listening to this podcast, and this guy said that he was in the AIT, and somebody cooked meth, so I'm gonna do it now.
Don't worry, it
It's
wasn't the
gonna
army
happen.
on the base. It was the Marines.
Oh well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Marines did all the
No,
weird shit around.
I
One time
if stupid can happen, my soldiers will find a way.
I was on watch and we got reports of someone being weird in one of the bushes. So in the Marine / Army barracks area. So we walk over there, and we generally don't patrol over there because every time we walk through, they ambush us with Nerf guns. So it's like the hood
Also
of the
very
base
Marines.
essentially. Yeah, it was wild over there. We just didn't patrol over there much. So we walk over there, and there's this dude in a ghillie suit trying to catch squirrels in a bush. It was the weird. They did such weird shit. And then another good watch story. Me and my bud were on roving, and we get a call, and it's like someone has reported a sex toy in a bush over by the IT barracks, and I was like, "You're fucking kidding me!" So we go over there, and there's this person standing in front of the bush with their hands on their hips, just kind of staring at the bush, and I was like, "Yo, what's up?" And they're like, "Take a look at this." So I opened the bush, and there's just this huge dick in the bush. So I radio the quarterdeck, and I'm like, "Petty officer, we have a dick in a bush in front of the IT barracks." I was like, "Please advise." And the petty officer comes to radio immediately. It's like, "Don't touch that." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't plan on it. What do we got to do about this?" And he's like, "Just leave it there. Just leave it
All
alone."
right.
And I
Have you
was like,
guys
"Oh,
seen that
okay."
some Marine took a picture of their, they were on CQ or whatever the hell Marines call it, and they're like, Private so and so showed up with two civilians, and then so and so came into the building with so and checked in two more civilians. And then later on, I heard strange noises coming from so and so's barracks room. So I went to check it out, and all of them were naked, covered in what I can only assume was human feces. And one of them attempted to attack me and bite me, so I locked the
Oh, hell
room.
yeah.
And
That's a watch
That
right
hasn't
there.
happened to me yet, but yeah, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, no. If you're any sort of training or race school, they do wild shit. We were on watch another watch story. I got put on watch a lot, and I don't know why. They just like putting me on roving because I actually did stuff instead of just standing around. So we were walking through the parking lot, and we saw a car moving around and steam. So we walked up to the car, knocked on the door, and I like flung the door open, and it was like they both screamed, stared at me, and I was like, either you're coming out or I'm coming in. And they both yelled and slammed the door shut. And promptly later, it was two of us, so we were both like, either you're coming out or we're both coming in. And they got really scared and decided to get dressed and go back to their rooms.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was hilarious. I love fucking with people on watch. It was my favorite thing to do.
AIT is like essentially college for most of these soldiers.
That's what A school is in the Navy.
It means a very abbreviated college. And when I went through AIT, it was definitely felt like college because we could, drink. But now it's like we've got obviously these rules in place because if you give the soldiers an inch, they will take 2 miles and then they will run those 2 miles at whatever pace they want.
And then hang themselves at the end of the rope. Yeah.
But we do have things like they're not allowed to drink. They're not allowed to have sex unless they're married. And it's sort of like, oh well, I get, it was like college, for a little bit. So yeah, it's a changing thing. But again, if we allowed them to drink, if we allowed them to have intimate relations, they would definitely fuck things up. Just know it.
They didn't allow sex, but they allowed drinking. We had a bar on base, and one of my favorite watch stories, which I have a lot from this place. Fucking, we were standing in a courtyard, and this it was a fleet returnee too. This is the best part. He was in the lounge trying to skateboard, and we told him to get out of the lounge with a skateboard. So he goes out, and he takes off his shirt, and I was like, "You should put that back on." And he's like, "Who's gonna stop me?" So he whips his pants off and sprints across the courtyard. So me and the other watchstander take off after him and end up tackling him, and he is completely naked. And we put his pants back on him, and then he profusely apologizes, and he's like, "I'll put in a good word for you." I was like, "You're an E4. No one cares what you're gonna say, and you're running naked through a courtyard. Why are you doing this?" And this dude was absolutely wasted, so we basically just had to walk him back to his room and stuff him in there.
Well, at least these shenanigans are happening in the Navy. Army.
Yeah,
right. We're very dignified.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm on battalion radio duty, right? Now, because we had people on gate guard and housing guard and roving guard, and it's post 9/11, and we had just entered Afghanistan, and we're waiting to go to Iraq, and we had guards everywhere carrying radios, and somebody had to be monitoring all the radio signals. So I'm sitting back with, I will not name names, but an NCO who may or may not have been on the show, and a butter bar. And the LT goes, "Hey guys, listen to this." And he pulls out, I don't know if it was a phone or his laptop or what it was. What in the flying? And he has this thing, and it has this voice changer in it. Like Yoda and Darth Vader and all these different voices, okay?
Yeah.
And he starts making phone calls.
Oh my god.
This is a lieutenant now, okay? To different NCOs within our battery. And he's calling them using the voice changing crap.
Beautiful.
And then he hangs up, and we're just busting a gut laughing. And of course, he's logging it all down. Called Sergeant So and So. Like, what the fuck? What in the hell is going on? Oh, that's dignified in the Army. Or maybe artillery is just weird. Maybe artillery men are just weird. I don't know.
Everyone's weird in the Army. It's the branch of the misfit toys.
Yeah.
I was gonna say It's like, well, the Marines wouldn't take me, the Air Force wouldn't take me, the Navy wouldn't take me. It's like, oh, well, welcome. We take everybody.
Everyone in the Navy is just drunk and autistic. So
the Marines were gonna take me. I was all ready to go, and apparently they hadn't been informing people about the water training. And our MEPs and their commanding officer there is like, they told you about the water training, right? And I was like, say what? And I did an about face and walked one door over, walked in and go, do I have to restart my paperwork? Like,
What the fuck
no.
is water?
I go, I'm all ready. I already finished my physical and everything. And they're like, all right, come with me.
I
And
was not informed there would be water in the amphibious branch.
This is an outrage.
So I was told that they would put me in a tank. I'd never have to deal with water ever. They told me that straight up.
It's actually a tank full of water. It's not an armored tank. It is a tank of water. They bamboozled you yet
It is
again.
a fish tank.
A fish tank. A large fish tank.
So I walked into the army office, and he's like, "No, just sign this paper, and I'll tear up that one." And that's all that took.
Well, for me, I was so indifferent to the military that it was just sort of like, all right, well, I can join the army. I can join the army in the ocean or the army in the sky or the Marines. I'm not joining the Marines.
Yeah.
And so I enlisted, and everyone's like, why didn't you go Air Force? And I was like, what's the difference? It's like, everyone in the Air Force is so much happier, and like the quality of life is great. And so then I, go through everything, and I meet airmen, and they're just the happiest people in the world. They love the military. And then you hear like an airman complain. It's like, oh my God, we had to be up at formation at 07. 07. I did not get my beauty sleep today. It's just like, oh, go fuck yourself. I've been up since 3:30.
They told me that I had to show up to pull weapons at 0400, so I had to be here at 0330, and nobody showed up until 08. What in the fuck?
Well, one of my favorite stories is I was doing weapons immersion in AIT, and it was a joint force base, and an airman comes up to me and goes, "Is that real?"
Oh my God.
Yes. It's like, we were training as we fight. It's weapons immersion. We have to qualify in this. And it's like, well, what am I going to use, a rubber ducky in Afghanistan? Like hit him over the head with it? It's like, ours. Yeah, just I'm going to let this melt, and it's going to be really hot, and it's going to now you're burned. Ugh.
8257163.
We're coming up on an hour here.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that was fast.
All right. Any other question? You got any questions for him, Mr. Nipples?
Not much. Just give a good shout out to your page.
All right. So you can follow me on Facebook at GILO, also on Instagram as GILO, and I'm very creative with my names. See if I'm do a little bit of promotion. So I'm planning on having a third book out. I'm going to try to get that done by the end of the year. I do my books through Divided by Zero Publications. So stay tuned for that. Also on May 25th, I will be in Oregon for the Guitars for Stars and selling some merch for good charity, the Red Circle Foundation. So if you live in the Pacific Northwest, I was going to say 7, but 1900, whatever, you guys can figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be at the Beaver Creek Saloon in Oregon City. So make sure to check that out.
Hey, Moyer, that means you. Just a question, Pete. One thing real quick before I ask you a question. Our favorite demoness, the one that works on our page, Lilith, wanted me to say hi to you. She just wanted me to make sure I said that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah,
she's part of
Warfighters Coalition, and she's definitely rocking a GILO shirt that I sent her, so that was awesome.
Yeah, she's part of the page. She's a Marine, so she's our favorite demoness.
Yep. If you've seen the picture of Lilith and a few other people wearing the GILO shirts, you can. Yep. We don't have a GILO store set up yet because ain't nobody got time for that. But if you PM the page, say shirt size or color, we've got them in gray, black, green. We're doing coyote brown now. I get my shirts done through Dirty Ape Ink, which is a Third ID buddy of mine. As a company, he makes T-shirts and apparel and all that fun stuff. So message me. We can add to the next order.
Nice. Hey, let me send us that info because we're looking at doing some. Once we get going, we get enough followers. We're looking at doing some Daycare podcast shirts.
Oh hell yeah, so, yeah.
So get off, yeah.
Dirty Ape Ink. It's cool because you kind of keep it in the military family. So he's a veteran who makes the shirts, and it's like all right.
Word. I'm gonna put the link in the description to your page as well. So
We'll do.
Link in
Appreciate it.
description for the Facebook guys.
Well, quick question: have you thought about starting up on Reddit at all? You'll drastically increase your fan base.
I might. I think I've done Reddit a couple of times. What was funny is I just posted a link for the comic on Reddit because I was like, oh, this is what the kids are using, and within a minute, someone wrote, "Well, this is cancer." I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I
Reddit's
remember
a interesting place.
Yeah, I
Reddit
remember if they
is
said I was
insane.
if my comic was cancer or if it was worse than cancer. I think I put the quote on the book, but it was just sort of like.
Don't take it
Yeah, I was
personally because there's people on Reddit that I've literally gone to like subs on Reddit where people just want to see videos of people getting their heads chopped off. So don't take one person too personally.
I think the trolls are hilarious. I collect quotes because, man, people write the craziest shit. My favorite one so far is and this was just someone was like, once I started to develop a following beyond just friends and family, someone wrote on one of my comics, this long chain about how awful my comic was and the art style was so bad, and so someone wrote, it's like, what even is this shit? And someone goes, well, it's like Terminal Lance, but for the army, but not as good.
Yeah.
I was like, that's my favorite quote. Like Terminal Lance, but for the army, but not as good. I was like, okay.
If you ever decide to have one of your characters go down Jody path, I've got quite a few Jody stories for you.
Oh, actually, I got a quick note. I know we're kind of going late, but
that's all right.
Since we already opened up the Terminal Lance Pandora box, one of the reasons why I'm so glad I got picked for drill sergeant duties is there are a lot of military-themed comics, and some of them are Miltoons. But there's a lot of parallel thinking going on because we all have pretty similar experiences. And I had this idea for a comic that I thought would be really funny and I sketched it out and everything, where it was the origin of Jody Boy. Specifically, it was like set the Revolutionary War, and some soldier is talking to his beloved, and he's like, "My darling Elizabeth, I'm off to fight for the independence of this country, and I will think nothing of you, and I will write to you every day. But in my stead, my best friend Jody will be here for you." And then you see Jody with a raised eyebrow, and I thought that feels like an original idea. That's great. Fucking Terminal Lance, like while it was still in the sketch stage, that came out, and I was like, all right, I know parallel thinking exists, but was this Inception? I was just like, oh god. So again, getting picked for drill sergeant, it's like, all right, that's a unique experience. There's going to be less parallel thinking with the other military cartoonists out there.
Well, if anybody on Miltoons is ever looking for a Jody story, you're welcome to share mine. In fact, you can give them the picture of that whore too.
All right.
They can use her likeness. I don't care. Real quick, we got to do a recap that we do at the end of every episode. We're going to have you back.
Absolutely, man.
Just whenever you're up for it. Because, whenever we have somebody fun on, we always want them back. So
can always fill us in on your soldiers.
They are the gift that keeps on giving. I will
and
never
all the wild shit they order.
We next week we have our very own Puddle Pirate on. Cutter, he'll be on the episode. He'll be our guest next week. Real quick, Pete, swing by Mission Zero. They're called Mission Zero Actual. They're fighting the 22 movement, and I'm sure that they could use something like your touch, a comic to help bring some
Levity?
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're fighting the 22 battle, and that would really. We're big fans of him. Belen, I served with him. He's the guy that founded it, and he's good people. We're trying to get his wife on the show. They're good people. Reach out to somebody. I don't care if it's your neighbor, your friend, somebody you served with.
Reach out and touch them.
The hall you don't like. Even if it's a jerk out at the hall you don't like, just reach out and make sure somebody's okay. Because we're losing far too many people every day.
Yeah, I'll one more declaration. If any of my followers are having bad thoughts, reach out to a professional first. But my page, I spend way too much time on Facebook. I've got other administrators who could be on, but if you're having those thoughts and you want to reach out to me, that door is always open.
That's yeah. So we're here over at Daycare Podcast and Mission Zero. That's what they specialize in. That's exactly what they're there for. There's IGY6. We've got a list of groups if you ever want to reach out to us. We're in touch with most of them. If you ever need somebody private to talk to, I know a few groups that there's people that do this thing that are private. They never say anything that aren't VA affiliated that you can talk to. So, hit us up, hit up anybody, and reach out, talk to people because people need it, especially this time of year. It's with what's coming up next 2 weeks from now is hard for us. We will be doing a special on the 25th. Write names that have fallen on our wall. We have the wall up there. It's pinned to the top of our page. Write the name of anybody you've lost, whether it's the 22, military sickness, or MIA, KIA. Put their names on there. We'll be reading those names out on the air. We'll also be taking calls that night. We'll be taking calls for you to share, stories of your friends that, we've lost. So we look forward to hearing from all of you. You got anything else to say, Pete?
Oh, I'm good. This was a fun time.
Oh yeah.
Sorry that we always have to finish it this way, but it's a message that.
Well, I was gonna say that's one of the core messages of your page. So I mean, it makes sense to cap it off like that.
Yeah.
It's
We'll always keep it wholesome here.
Yeah, because we don't we follow General Washington's order. That August 6th of 1775. About profanity, can't fucking do that shit here. So, all right.
All right. Well,
have a good one.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right.